Hi everyone, I'm Ghostnote, and in this video I'm going to go over my Stormbrand Ascendant character in Betrayal League. This isn't a build guide as usual, though I will cover what I did later on. It's more of an impression video specifically of the skill and of the build from an SSF softcore viewpoint. I'll go over the basics, I'll show the character in action in a quick map, and then show what I did in regards to gear, links, tree, etc., and discuss a few details and possibilities of what I might change or do differently. So let's get into it. If you don't know, brands are a new type of skill introduced in the Betrayal update. They place brands on the ground which attach to enemies as they get close to them and activate periodically, doing their damage while they're attached. Once the enemy dies, the brand detaches from them and reattaches again to another nearby enemy, and it repeats the process. There are two types. There's Armageddon Brand, which drops flaming meteors, and Storm Brand, which zaps bolts of lightning between packs of mobs, which is what I built around. Brand Recall is also another new skill they added. It's an instant cast skill with a 2-second cooldown, and it basically just recalls all of your deployed brands to your location, activates them immediately, and increases the range at which they can attach to enemies. This particular build requires a little bit of gear to get going, but nothing too difficult in my opinion. The clear is already great on a 4 and 5 link. It lacks a little bit single target until you get a 6 link, and even then, when you do, it's best supplemented with another skill like Ball Storm Call or Lightning Spire Trap. However, once you're properly geared, linked, and leveled, it can take on all content. I've done several Uber Elders, Shaper, Uber at Ziri, and they've all felt really good. They could even be done deathless if you were better than me. As far as leveling goes, you get Stormbrand at level 12 after the Siren's Cadence quest in Act 1, and you get Brand Recall at level 16 after the Root of the Problem quest in Act 2. And those are going to be your bread and butter for leveling. Link Stormbrand with whatever feels best, though it'll likely be Elemental Focus and Control Destruction to start. Faster casting probably for your 4th link until you get some cast speed, at which point you can put in Concentrated Effect. I keep wanting to say Consecrated. Lightning Penetration, and added lightning damage. The increased AoE gem, not necessary at all in my opinion. AoE doesn't do a whole lot for this skill, I'm finding, just because of the way brands spread. They kind of naturally end up generating their own AoE. You'll get a little bit on the tree in my build, but it's not necessary. I guess without further ado, let's go into a quick shaped waterways map. Nothing special, I just want to show you really quick. Not going to pick up loot or do anything like that. I just want to run through and show you what I do and what the build looks like as it runs. So as soon as I get in, as long as I remember, what I do is I cast my 5 brands, and you'll see this little UI element up here. This basically means I have 5 brands out, and the empty circles mean none of them are attached to anything. You'll notice as I'm running through, if you pay attention to this, when a brand attaches, one of these circles will fill up. And so you see them disappearing there now because they have a limited duration. But the circles will fill up when they're attached, and that'll let me know how many are attached, and it's just good to know in case you need. It's mostly for single target to know that at least 2 are attached to an enemy. So basically what I do is I zip around. I think these are betrayal mobs. Yep. An intervention action going on. Let's hope I don't die. Now here I'm throwing out Lightning Spire Trap just to make sure I get some extra single targets and burst. Looks like it was Kruger Vicious. Okay, so I'll just keep going. I won't bother with that now. This is basically what you do. Zip around with shield charge. Press Brand Recall. You've got brands out. They immediately come to your location. Then they attach to nearby enemies. And they do their damage. They spread their beams throughout. And if the enemy dies, they'll just spread and attach to another one. You see it keeps spreading along there. Press Brand Recall. It keeps spreading. Brand Recall, keep spreading to enemies. It just does that, and it just feels super smooth because Brand Recall is instant. You can just shield charge if you're, really reckless like me into packs. Drop Brand Recall, do the damage, keep going. It's really quick and really smooth, and here's the boss. So what I'll do is I'll pop Ball Righteous Fire, throw down some Lightning Spire Traps, make sure 2 are attached to him, which they were. Boom, he's dead. Really quick, really smooth playstyle, feels great, and that's basically all there is to it. So, let's talk gearing and stats. Cast speed, essential. Absolutely essential, because if you look at Brand Recall... Whoops, sorry, wrong button. Or Stormbrand, rather. You'll see that it says increases and reductions to cast speed also apply to this skill's activation frequency, which basically means the more cast speed you have, the more often it's firing off. Think of it like attack speed, but for a skill. Really, really, really good for this. absolutely essential that you get as much cast speed as you possibly can because it scales the spell really well. Penetration and added damage are both really good. Just flat added damage, even though damage effectiveness on the skill is only 35%, because it's hitting so often, all that extra, all the little hits doing more damage each time with pen and added damage, really good way to scale. Brand activation is another new stat they added, or rather activation frequency. It's sparse on the tree, but you can get it, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Where you can get that, it's good. It's basically just like cast speed. Other than that, just brand damage, which is on the tree now, and on, I don't know if it's on gear or not. I haven't seen too much of it. Spell damage, lightning damage, generic damage, all that will scale it well, of course. Cooldown speed, reduction speed is not strictly necessary, but it'd be really good for both brand recall and also Feast of Flesh, which I'm using on my hat, which I'll show you in a second. It would be good for this build, but not absolutely necessary. I've gotten by fine without any. Brand attachment range is another new thing they've added to the tree, which basically just means the range at which your brands will attach to an enemy. Not necessary to pick it up. You'll get a little bit on the tree. Don't go out of your way for it, though. Mostly because of brand recall increasing the attachment range automatically, and you casting that so often, it's just not necessary. And AoE is not really necessary either. Again, you get a little bit on the tree, but it doesn't seem to do much for the skill. So now I will show you my gear, little tree and links. I think I'll start with the tree actually first. So I am an Ascendant. You could play this as something better, probably Elementalist, Inquisitor. I chose Ascendant because I wanted to be different, and I wanted to scale my cast speed a lot. So what I chose was Raider. Most of the first four or first three are nothing big. The big thing here is the Onslaught while on full Frenzy charges, and a 10% chance to gain a Frenzy charge when you hit a rare unique enemy. This is really good just because it's a ton of cast speed. Onslaught plus Frenzy's up. Lots of cast speed, and you'll have it when you need it the most against tough enemies. Really liked that. Wanted to do it. Wanted to have to worry about frenzies, Blood Rage or anything like that. I just wanted to have them. And then I went Hierophant. I originally had Elementalist, but I was wasting a lot of it, so I went Hierophant. 25% increased mana, nothing. +1 to maximum totems, nothing. So you're wasting a bit. You might be able to make better choices. I don't know. 8% of damage taken from mana before life. I'm using that because I'm using Mind Over Matter with EB, so that's good. It's sort of like a super MOM. And the big one here is gain Arcane Surge when your totems hit an enemy with a spell. Now, normally, if you're spending Energy Shield, which I am with Eldritch Battery, rather than mana, you cannot proc the Arcane Surge gem because it specifically requires mana be spent. But because this is just, excuse me, whenever you hit with a spell, you can proc Arcane Surge. 10% more spell damage, increased cast speed. Really good. Again, scaling cast speed. And then 20% increased spell damage when you have Arcane Surge. So that's what I went. And then I went Path of the Templar so I could build from the Templar out. So I started up here. Well, I started in here, but I will show you up here because this is technically the starting area. Build out here. Beeline over to Runebinder. Runebinder is really important because you can have an additional brand attached to an enemy. -1 max totems. Doesn't matter. You're not using totems. But the additional brand attached to an enemy basically doubles your single target DPS. Really good. Penetration and damage. I got Zealot's Oath. I don't really need life regen because I'll show you why in a little bit, but I have Leech and Life Gain on hit. So I used my life regen that I picked up naturally, I guess, to regen a little bit of my energy shield, which was, in reality, mana regen, I guess. AoE came up here, got Elemental Overload, procs all the time because the skill hits so often. Even though you're not crit, easy extra 40% elemental damage, easy choice. This is one of the first brand wheels, I guess. With Explosive Runes, you get an additional brand, 20% increased damage with brand skills, and increased attachment range. Nothing special, but good for the build. Again, there's some brand attachment range you get without even thinking about it. Go through Witch, grab some life, a jewel socket. Down here, life. This is sort of leftover, but it's a little bit more cast speed and lightning damage, so not too bad. Runesmith is another one of the new brand nodes they added. This one's really good. Another additional brand. Increased damage to enemies they're attached to, which is really good because you can attach 2 to an enemy. Increased duration, just make them last longer. Good stuff. And activation frequency, which again is like cast speed. Now here you'll notice there's attachment range and damage, which is not bad, or activation skill. I went with activation frequency. I went with the frequency because I felt it was more important these might be okay because of the damage, but I just didn't like the brand attachment range, so I didn't do it. There's another one down here along with this totem stuff, 24% increased damage with brand skills and increased duration. It's got some other things. It's got some activation frequency, pretty good, but it was a little bit too far out of my way. I would consider going and getting these maybe though, and dropping a couple other things possibly. I just didn't have the points, so they didn't seem as important as just picking up these. On the whole, the brand wheels are just okay. They're nothing special. You can do better just by scaling damage and cast speed, in my opinion. And then I came into Shadow, get some attack and cast speed for my shield charge, and again, more cast speed. But pretty generic spell damage stuff. Came down, I got the life wheel, of course. I had an unnatural instinct, so I used it here to get some stuff because there's area, cast speed, duration, curse effectiveness. Not strictly necessary, but fun. I found a prismatic jewel, or Watcher's Eye, and it had 57% increased lightning damage while affected by Wrath, so I used it, because I am using Wrath. Other than that, my jewels have cast speed and lightning damage, cast speed, you know, all the things that I've mentioned. I think that's about it for the tree. I'll look at gear now. So, to start off, we'll talk about the Devouring Diadem, which is a drop from the Mastermind at the end, the big safe house, Katarina, in case you don't know. It drops fairly often. I think I've gotten a couple, so I don't think it's uncommon. But let's go over it real quick. +1 to the level of Socketed Gems, really good. Socketed Gems have 20% reduced mana reservation, really, really good, and I'll show you why in a second. The big thing here is trigger level 15 Feast of Flesh every 5 seconds. Now what that does is it will consume up to 10 corpses, and for each corpse consumed, it will restore 400 life, 200 mana, and 400 ES, I believe are the stats. That is amazing, because every 5 seconds you're basically restoring, as long as there's 10 corpses around, 4,000 life, 4,000 ES. Tops me up all the time. Absolutely incredible for sustain. Other than that, it's got some ES, 10% chance for energy shield recharge to start when you use a skill. Not amazing, but you use skills fairly often. Brand recall all the time, shield charge, so it happens pretty often and you're getting good recharge. And of course, Eldritch Battery, so I don't have to travel to that, and I can just use it. It also has a veiled mod. Mine wasn't very good. I'm sure you can get better. You can see I got 13 strength, 8 quality. That was the best choice I had. As far as a weapon, I'm using the Cerberus Limb, which drops from Ahatotli, I believe I'm pronouncing that correct, the Blind, in Delve. He's the boss of the Vol outpost, so if you see like a Vol city and there's like a boss marker, you'll see it. It's very obvious. He can drop this, and he drops it pretty often, or maybe it's a she, I don't know. Anyway, elemental damage, cast speed, spell damage, and then the spell damage leeches life if the equipped shield has at least 30% chance to block. I do. I'll show you my shield in a sec. And +1 to max ES per 5 armor in the equipped shield, which I have a lot of for my mana pool. My shield is just bare bones basic. I used a perfect fossil to get the quality up, and then I used a dense fossil to craft lots of armor on it. I happened to get the 2% chance to block, which was good, although that is also a defensive stat, so the dense fossil will roll it often. And then I crafted 3% chance to block, so I get to 30%, so I can get the life leech from the weapon. 2300 armor equals 1 per 5. Like, what is that? 400 and something ES. I'm not going to do the math now. Anyway, it's quite a bit. Let's see. 2651. See, I get over 1,000 ES just by equipping that shield with all my bonuses. Really good. And you can craft even better. You can get up to 3,000 armor if you really put some effort into it, as well as other stats. This is bare bones basic stuff. I managed to get a 6 link from a bestiary craft. It's nothing special. It's got a little life regen and some life. You can get much better. I crafted this ring with an alt spam until I got the 10 life gained on hit for each enemy hit by your spells. Really good because you're hitting so often. I managed to get some resist and life. You could probably get better, but it's a good base to start with. I do recommend something like this. This is just an opal with some extra damage on it. Gloves are nothing special. A little bit of cast speed, faster casting, pretty standard. Boots, again, movement. I crafted the movement speed and gain onslaught for 4 seconds on kill, because sometimes when you're clearing, you're not hitting rare or unique enemies enough to build up all your frenzies. So this just grants you a little extra onslaught for some clear speed and some damage while you're going. Good stuff, and it added movement speed. It seemed like a no-brainer to me. Belt could be better, could have a lot more damage with fossils, prismatic, metallic, get some lightning damage and elemental damage. This is just bare bones. I tried to craft one. Fossils hate me. Couldn't do it. And the neck, again, just some lightning damage, life resists. Flask, I'm using it Zeri's Promise, extra damage. Wise Oak, I have my Lightning Res the highest. Triple balanced would be best, but my Lightning Res is highest, so some penetration. And just Life of Staunching, Basalt of Heat, and Stibnite of Warding. One thing to mention, gearing-wise, you could use Command of the Pit if you don't want to use the Hierophant sub-ascendancy, because this will also grant you Arcane Surge on hit with spells if you have a Hypnotic Eye Jewel socketed in there. Just wanted to point that out. And the other thing I wanted to point out gearing-wise was, I don't have one, so I have to actually show you it on the wiki, is a Conductivity and Presence. This would be really good. It's got ES regen, it's got extra lightning damage. It'd be a free Conductivity, which means you could probably do something like, say, Herald of Thunder or an Aspect of the Spider. Yeah, it would just give you more options, and it would fit well within the build just about perfectly. So all around good stuff. I would recommend using it if you could get one. I could not. I think that's it for gearing. So for links, you've got Stormbrand. I managed to get a level 21 one from the Temple Corruption. Fairly easily to do, but you do need to get a Lapidary Lens in order to do that. Controlled Destruction, Lightning Pen, Ellie Focus, Concentrated Effect. I'm having a hard time with that. And added lightning damage. I was thinking about trying Chain for extra clear. Ended up not needing it. And again, Ink AoE not needed. I would mostly stick with these. I haven't really changed up much, and it seems to work great. In the hat, I have Wrath, Discipline, Blasphemy, and Conductivity, and you see they're all +1 because of that. So just added damage and defenses in there, and the mana reservation is just... the lowered mana reservation makes it so I can just do all three and have 59 mana left over, and then use, of course, my ES for mana. In the weapon, I have Cast When Damage Taken, Spell Cascade, and Desecrate. That's just to get corpses out for the Feast of Flesh on here. Spell Cascade may not be strictly necessary, but I found getting the most corpses out as quickly as possible to be good, but you could probably remove that. Over here, I just have Shield Charge, Fortify faster attacks, standard stuff. Summon Lightning Golem for the extra cast speed. Brand Recall, of course, very important. Flame Dash and Vol Righteous Fire for that extra burst damage. And then Lightning Spire, Trap and Mine, Consecrated Effect. I can't not say Consecrated. And Elemental Focus. I tried Vol Storm Call for a while. You can try out both and see what you like better. This is more on-demand damage because it's always around. You don't always have the Vol skill up during long boss fights, but the Vol skill is also less clunky to use than, say, a Trap. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Other than that, general gearing notes. Playing Life seems like the way to go because of the Life Leech that you can get and the life gain on hit. You're hitting so often, it makes it easier to sustain, but ES might be good too. I don't know. I just don't like ES builds that much. Armor, EB, and MOM work pretty well together with a sustain to keep you alive. It's quite a tanky build. ES regen, good idea, since occasional hard hits can completely deplete your ES because you're using it MOM style, and it leaves you unable to do anything else otherwise. That's where the Conductivity and Presence would be really good, but if you get other sources of ES regen, that'll work as well. There's lots of good options on chest crafts. You can get a 10% max life as extra ES thing. You can get recover ES on focus, so if you have room on your bar for focus, you can get that instant ES heal, which would be good. You can get extra mind over matter effect while focused, so you could even combo those two, and you can even get ES regen with nearby rare or unique enemies. Less reliable, but still something you can consider. Lastly, the reason I didn't go pure Hierophant, I'll show you. I'll bring up POB here. They added a new node to Hierophant, specifically for Brand, Sign of Purpose. You can cast additional Brand. You can already get several of those on the tree. You don't need it. You just don't need it. You've already got enough. Enemies take 10% increased damage for each of your brands attached to them. That's okay, but it's nothing special. That's 20% increased damage at most, because you can only have 2 at the most attached to an enemy. 14% brand attachment, 14% increased brand attachment range. Like I've said, brand attachment range just didn't seem worth it at all to me. The big thing here is Brand Recall has 30% increased cooldown recovery speed. That is big, and it's really good. I just don't think it's worth spending a whole Ascendancy that otherwise is just sort of good defensively, but not really offensively. To me, it wasn't worth it. The damage just wouldn't be there. That is why no pure Hyro. Map mods, really quick. No leech is doable, but it's sketchy depending on other mods. Just keep that in mind, but it's perfectly doable. You've got other means to sustain. No regen, same thing. You just got to be aware that you're not going to be regenning ES, so if you get hit hard, you're going to have to wait for that Feast of Flesh or what have you. Yeah, I guess just that in order to get it back, so just keep that in mind. And obviously, Ellie Reflect is not doable. The positives of the build: it's fast and great clear. It's a fun and active playstyle. The instant recall feels amazing. You're just zipping around, recalling your brands to use, zapping everything. The zaps sound and feel satisfying. It just feels fast and zoomy and fun. The great sustain damage allows you to focus on avoiding income damage. You can just attach your brands and then run around. It's really good for something like Uber Elder where you have to focus on avoiding damage. The decent armor, the EB, MOM, the Feast of Flesh, the life gain on hit, and life leech all make for a pretty tanky build, and it can handle all the content in the game once it's 6-linked, in my opinion, and pretty manageably too, like low stress wise. I've done several Uber Elders, I've done an Uber Atziri, I've done several Shapers, all that stuff, and it handled them all fine. I could even do it deathless if I played better. As far as negatives, there's lots of buttons and links. That's kind of an issue with a lot of builds nowadays. Stuff might get left out, but I think it's more manageable than some builds for sure. Corrupting Blood and Lightning Mirage are a little bit dangerous because of the way the brand attaches to a specific enemy and then just keeps attacking really fast. It can build those things up really quickly and without you noticing, especially if you're running past something, so it's just something to watch out for. Allies can't die is a little bit annoying because you have to make sure your brand is specifically either attached or to or hitting the source of that aura. Shield charge and brand recall can get you in a little bit of trouble if you're going faster than your brand recall cooldown allows. You might charge into somewhere, try and recall, and then it doesn't happen, and then you're just getting hit. I've done that a few times because I play aggressively, so just remember that. Be moderate. The burst damage on this isn't overly impressive without supplementary sources. It's more of a sustained damage thing. It's really good sustained damage, but it's not like bursty compared to some other things. Brand recall may be a little bit broken and may see a nerf. I don't know. It seems really good, but maybe that's what they want. I don't know. As far as things that I would do differently next time, I think I would try and get a conductivity and presence, like I said. That would be really good. Some cooldown reduction speed would be really good. And I would love to get more damage specifically on my belt with metallic and prismatic fossils. I just have to craft one, and it didn't happen. I would love to, like I say, try to get my brand recall cooldown especially lower with an empower. The way it works is it has 6 levels, and each level reduces the cooldown of it. But if you had an empower, it would go up further levels, reducing the cooldown once again. I just didn't get an empower to drop. Still haven't seen one. What are you going to do? But that would make the build feel even smoother. I would love to craft an even better shield. Like I said, that's bare bones. You can get up to 3,000 plus armor. You could probably end up crafting life on it if you get enough block. You could make a really good shield. Pinnacle or Colossal would be your choices there, I think. And it's likely more damage with an Elementalist or an Inquisitor, just straight up damage-wise. And an Occultist Profane Bloom might feel even better for clear, just because it'd be constantly triggering that. I just wanted to try something different and have lots of points to spend on defense as well. That's about it, guys. In conclusion, it's a really powerful damage skill Storm brand with lots of utility potential. It's got Elemental Overload proc covered. It could easily be your curse on hit thing. It could be a life gain on hit sustain thing. It's really good, and it's really versatile. This will likely be my go-to character for farming this league because it does all the content with minimal annoyance. I don't know if there's anything else to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. Ring that subscribe bell if you did, if you liked it, to see more stuff like this. I'll link the paste bin and the passive tree in the description below. Feel free to come check out my Twitch stream, Ghost Note Live. I'm usually streaming during the week. I'll link that in the description below as well. And also leave your comments and questions below, and we'll have a discussion about this. That's everything, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.